Hey guys, how are you? This is Yishai Breslauer, your host of the CRE SharkEye Show. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today, we're going to talk about very, very interesting stuff. We're going to dig into commercial real estate, buying businesses, selling businesses, mergers and acquisitions, and we're going to be with someone who has vast experience, in that business. Michael Steinberg is the head of Hedgestone Business Advisors, and Michael is going to tell us all about those things. Michael, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. You know what? Before we even start, tell us, give us a 2-minute elevator pitch about what your business is about.
So basically, we're in the business of selling businesses, and we're on the perimeter. So say a car wash, a laundromat, a hotel, a liquor store, any main street business, even healthcare. I'm even getting into SaaS businesses, subscription-based businesses online. Anything that generates revenue. That's what we're hired to do. We come in and we sell the businesses for the owner. So Mr. Owner would call me up and he would say, "Hi, Mike, I saw you online. I know you sell businesses. Can I please have an evaluation of my company?" And of course, I would ask him a couple of questions before asking about any numbers. Why are you selling? How long you've been in business for? And really find out the motivation of the reason why he's selling, because that's the most important thing to know. Once I feel like the story adds up, which that basically means that it's a real deal. I would ask him for the numbers, and everything is based on return on investment, not just with money, but with time. So if an owner's spending his whole day in his business and he's not able to work on the business, he's in the business too much, that's not as valuable as someone that can take a step back, can go on vacation, and the business will run smooth like a well-oiled machine. So there's so many different things that come into an account when you're evaluating a business. So basically, I evaluate the business. Once I get the business and I put it on the marketplace, my marketplace is all internal. Over the last 10 years, I have about a couple 100,000 active buyers looking to buy businesses. So I don't have to go online. I don't have to advertise to the public. I have my internal database of vetted buyers that I send the business to. And just like that, I sell businesses. So I have a team of about 50 people, 50 brokers, and I have a back-end team of about 15 to 20 people working for me. And we're growing at an exponential pace right now, and we're involved in all different types of businesses.
Interesting, and you know what? You just gave me I hope the 30 to 40 minutes that we're going to go through are going to be enough with this, because this is very cool. There's a lot to talk about. You know what? Before we dig into all that stuff, tell us, how did you get into it? Tell us about your career path. How did it all start?
So, I was delivering pizza when I was 20 years old. I was working 80 hours a week in a pizzeria, 7 days a week, every single day. And, it wasn't the life. I was living a paycheck to paycheck. It wasn't the life that it was a stepping stone. I was meeting a lot of people. I was talking to customers. I was not just a delivery boy. I knew the ins and outs of pizzerias, and I understood what it took to get to that pizzeria to the next level. So, in my career, I met a business broker while I was delivering pizzas, and I didn't know what a business broker was. I just knew about real estate. I knew about commercial real estate, residential real estate, but it shocked me that, there is such a thing where you can sell the actual business, not just leasing a property or selling a property. So I focused on pizzerias, and, I delivered a lot to this guy's office on purpose. And, I spent a lot of time learning from him. He took a very good liking to me. And eventually I was able to sell my first pizzeria while working at a pizzeria. I would go into the bathroom on my phone, make a couple of calls, go back and start working. And eventually I was lucky enough to get a sale. Once I got that sale, I devoted more time to the business and then got a few more sales. And then eventually I quit working at a pizzeria. I started selling businesses. And from there to now, that's what I've been doing. And it's such an interesting business because you're behind the scenes. I'm learning, these we're selling people's livelihoods here. So when I got my first sale, I really was able to connect with the buyers and the sellers because I've been in the business so long, working in pizzerias, that I knew all the right questions. I didn't know all the questions, but if they told me that they were doing 6 batches of dough on a Friday night, I know they were making 10 to 12,000 on that night, which is a $40,000 to $50,000 pizzeria.
That's
So I
amazing.
knew they weren't lying about their sales. So eventually I got into other different industries. I'm big in the car wash industry. I've sold 20 car washes this year. I sold a couple of flagship hotels. I sold the Ondice Hotel on Wall Street. Um, I sold the Bayshore Inn. I have two more closings this year on hotels, assisted livings as well, healthcare. I'm selling MRI practices right now. I'm selling staffing companies. So you have to really understand all the right questions to ask. And the journey led me to selling all these different types of businesses.
You know what? Your story is so incredible. From
Thank
selling
you.
pizza and going into what you do today. And you know what fascinates me? When you got into this whole calculation of how much dough is being made, and you could calculate how many pizzas are being made and how much revenue the business is making, and you were able to actually calculate this. It just shows that when people are doing the simplest type of a job, it doesn't matter. There's no bad job. Every job is, you can get respect from every job. Every single thing they give you in order to make a living, the ability to make a living is so important. But whenever you are in that position, what can you learn that could upgrade you and get you to the next level? And that's amazing. From a pizzeria to get to that level, that's such an inspiring and beautiful story. Thank you for this.
Oh, thank you.
I want to get into a couple of things here. First of all, because we talk mostly about real estate for the most time, or prop tech, property technology, many times, I never had the chance, and that's why I'm so excited, to speak about the business aspect of, whatever is on top of the real estate. And we have a couple of things here. So before we get into the types of businesses, which I'm very curious about, when does the real estate, the commercial real estate, and the business comes together, and in your actions, in your business?
So there are a lot of cases. I'm a licensed real estate broker as well, and I do that because there's a lot of cases where the business comes with the real estate. And, a lot of these business owners that own the real estate, they mark down their rent so that they make more profit. Now that makes the business more valuable, but the real estate with a lower rent is obviously it's not going to be as valuable as it were if it was a market rent. So, having a sense of numbers and what's the going rate for rent in that specific area, you have to, of course we can get a little more if they own the business because we could juice up that income and maybe lower that rent a little bit, and maybe that would help offset the price. But you really have to know, first of all, there's two ways to calculate it. What the rent is into the sales. So in the restaurant world, if the rent is over 10% of the sales, it's very hard to make money. If in the pizzeria world, same thing. In the bagel store world, in any food establishment, if your rent is higher than 10%, your profit margin is squeezed that much. If your rent is lower than 10%, then there's money to make. So that's one way to calculate rent. If you have a $5 million operation and you want to put a $500,000 rent on that number, your property is going to be worth, more than what it would if you were to make the rent $250. That's obvious. Another way to calculate the rent is to get, price per square footage, like every other real estate broker would come up with. So if it's a $25 or $35 price per square foot, if the rent comes in at $300,000, that's what the property value is worth. So there's two ways. As a business broker, we have an advantage because if it's a high volume place, we can actually bump that rent up even more. Maybe the EBITDA or the net income will be a little lower, but overall, we'll get a higher price for the package. So I like real estate and business together because there's two different, you can get very creative with it.
Tell me something. You just mentioned the 10% rule that you learned, right? You learned about.
Yes.
10% means if it's if it's 10% and above, it means the business is struggling in terms of the rent.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
is that true for every type of food business or no?
For big restaurants, it comes into effect. For pizzerias, bagel stores, especially in New York. In different towns, in different states, it varies. But because sales tax is so high, because minimum wage is so high, because food costs are so high, the lower the fixed expenses are, the better chance of you making money. In the car wash world, it doesn't apply to that. You can have rents of 15%, you can still make money because your biggest expense is payroll. You don't have that cost of goods. What does it cost to wash a car? 35, 40 cents? You're not buying cases of cheese, bags of flour.
Right.
So every business is different. Obviously, to keep the minimal fixed expense is very important.
It requires such knowledge in each business. And that leads me to the next question. Because you've mentioned, okay, pizzeria, pizza. Pizza, one of the favorite food. Everybody loves pizza. Okay. Now, car wash. Okay. So that's simpler to understand. But when it comes to assisted living or hotels, I wouldn't go to MRI. That we'll talk later. But assisted living or hotels, I always like to talk about it because it's a business within a business,
Correct.
which you're an expert in. Selling businesses within a business. But real estate is a business. It's a business. Maybe it's a simpler business model because you get rent, you have the basic expenses, and that's it, unless you are more creative when you have multifamily or office or retail. But when you are just an owner and you're not dealing with it, yeah, it's simple. But when it comes to a business on top of it, especially hotels, which comes with calculating occupancies, understanding the concept of hoteling, food and beverage, all these aspects are making it a business on top of a business, and that requires much larger knowledge base. Tell us a little bit about your experience getting into that while doing all the others.
Well, I definitely love getting into bigger deals, and hotels and assisted livings. They're bigger deals than pizzerias and car washes and laundromats. So my goal is to work on this big, it takes as much effort to work on $100 million hotel than it would to take on $100,000 pizzeria. So I just had to dive into it. Hotels fascinate me. I'm passionate about the business. So I just learned from my mistakes. I went in, you gotta fake it till you make it, like they say. So I went in my first hotel years ago, and I looked at it. I did my research, obviously, online, and I looked at it like every other business. But there's things that I've learned through dealing with sellers and buyers that you can't learn online. And there's all different brands. There's independent hotels. There's motels. There's property improvement plan requirements. Each brands have their own franchise agreement. Sometimes there's unions when you're dealing with the city. You got to deal with union contracts.
Right.
So
which can destroy a hotel, basically.
Yeah, because then your labor is double. So, or close to it. So, that will minimize your profit. So, it's just there's so many moving parts that you learn as you go. And, I started young, and I'm continuing to learn every day. And I tell everyone, you have to learn from everyone. If you get 1% better a day, that's not 365%. You're compounding.
Right.
So as long as you get 1% better a day, you're doing something right.
You know what? Going back to this hotel issue, I'm just curious. When you got the first hotel pro forma and you saw the numbers, what was your reaction?
I was like, wow, there's so many expenses, and there's so many different variables here. Occupancy, average daily rate, gross sales, EBITDA, depreciation, so many different tax write-off abilities. There's just so many moving parts. It's not a simple restaurant where you just look at, you have your employees, you have your food cost. There's so much more to go into it. Royalty fees. The list goes on. So, right. It's definitely much more moving parts, and it shocked me. I was like, how am I going to get this done? But eventually you put a template together I have a template for every type of business, and I plug it into my template, and I can spit out what it makes.
Beautiful. Tell me a little bit about the MRI business. It's the first time, meaning I know that type of business, but if you could tell us a little bit about those type of businesses, who buys them, and we're going to dig into other type of businesses and what the type of buyers you find. But MRI, I'm very curious about.
Yeah, I mean, that's all billing, If you're under an article, it's much more valuable. And, if you have private pay versus, if you have different types of pay, that's a big difference. You could do so much. With private pay is not as valuable as if you have an article. So the buyers that buy the MRI and the assisted living and the healthcare deals, I'm not really seeing as much mom and pop buyers. I'm dealing with a lot of funds that come in that want to roll up these
Interesting.
opportunities, and they want to scale, and they want to buy 10, 20 locations. I'm doing a deal right now. The owner actually just called me right now. We're selling 3 of his locations on Long Island, and it's going for about a 5-time multiple, 5-time EBITDA.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely, healthcare is not going anywhere. And I see the big boys coming in and scooping up all these smaller shops right now.
That's so interesting. Let's go into the types of types of buyers, types of clients that you have. Meaning, obviously, you have your own Rolodex by today, and you don't even need, like you said, you don't even have to go to the media or anything else. You have your own clientele. Who are those people who love to buy businesses? What is their profile?
So there's a few different types of buyers. There's a buyer that, he's looking to get into a full-time thing. It's his livelihood. He needs his handheld. Maybe he's never been in the business, but he has a liking to you as a business broker. He trusts you. He likes your exclusive deals, and he's willing to listen, and he's willing to let you point him into the right direction. And he's not the most educated buyer, but that's okay. He'll hold your hand. And that's someone that I love to work with, because I can make a big impact on his life, where I can give him a value add opportunity plus a stabilized opportunity, and he's very happy. You have that type of buyer. You have another type of buyer that thinks, I'm giving you all different scenarios here. You have another type of buyer that is a private fund, that he's a manager. He represents a group of investors, and he has the capital on hand to go in, and he's buying all different locations, but it's all contingent upon, his formula. And that's a good buyer to work with. But the biggest thing that you have to worry about is you have to make sure that all the numbers are added up. You got to do the due diligence before you bring that type of buyer to the table, so you don't waste your time. And then you have everyone else who just promises and thinks they're a buyer, but they have little birdies whispering in their ear, or they're wishy-washy. So the biggest thing about business brokering is you got to know who to spend your time with, like anything else. Your time is money. We eat what we kill in this business. I used to work paycheck to paycheck. Now I work commission to commission. And you got to learn how to value your time, because that's all you have.
That's so interesting. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about what the world went through in the last few years. And businesses were impacted in a major way. And you're in New York, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
What did you see in terms of the market, and what do you see today? Meaning, going through COVID to today, and where are we going forward with this whole, especially with the turmoil that we're going through, economic downturns, and the environment.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, and no one, no matter how old you are, or no matter what experience you have, no one's been through this time before. So it's a time of innovation. A lot of companies, they're laying off people. Everything is really getting more remote. So, you have to adapt to the times. And as a business broker, when a recession hits or when people are uncertain, they panic and they want to sell. So in my arena, in my space, I'm getting an incredible more, from pre-COVID to now, it's a different industry. everyone wants to sell, and there are so many sharks out there that want to buy. So I find it, a pioneer's time. It's a really good time to get into this industry. And I actually put a course because of these times where I can make a deal, unlike real estate. I don't have to show a space. I don't have to meet anyone. I like to meet people. It helps the deal that much more. But I'm at a point where I can do deals right from my cell phone in Florida, and I can sell deals in New York because of technology. And everything is numbers. But if you really have the knowledge and expertise in what you do, you're able to sell people on the phone. And I created a course. I was touching on that, where I help specifically real estate agents and mortgage brokers, and I teach them how to sell businesses. And I started it last month. It took me 2 years to build. During COVID, I came up with the model, and now, people who take the course, they work in Headstone, and they eventually become brokers. I have a very, very extensive training program where I train these real estate agents and these mortgage lenders who already have the lingo and know how to transact. I train them to make 10% commissions, that rather to make 4 to 5% commissions. So that's on headstone.com. You can go right onto our website and join our team, and you can get that training from me. So that's what I'm doing.
Tell me something. You guys are based in New York, right?
We're based in New York and Florida.
And Florida. Meaning, how is it for you? You live in Florida, in the office, and the businesses in New York, or vice versa? Meaning, you're selling mostly businesses in New York, if I understand correctly, or both?
I'm all over the country right now. We have a deal in Columbus, Ohio that's closing next week. We have deals in Texas. We have deals in Florida. We have deals all over South Carolina. I live both New York and Florida. And that's the beautiful thing about this business is the lifestyle. You can really do everything from your phone. So I like to spend the winters in Florida. I spend the summers in New York. And, it's an endless opportunity.
Tell me something. Let's talk about your business a little bit and the growth. When was the point where, meaning you came from a one-man show who's doing business, and all of a sudden you went to few other brokers that joined you, and now you became a firm? Tell us a little bit about the evolution of the business.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can't believe how it's just growing very quickly. So today is December of 2022. Last year at this time, I had 5 people total. Now we have 50 plus about 15, so 65 people. Next year at this time, I'm thinking over 1,000.
Wow.
Because this year was a building year. I built the infrastructure. I have an automated CRM where basically we kick out everyone who's not a real buyer, and they go through a process. All the marketing kits for the business are automated. So, we really built the infrastructure this year to scale to the next level. And, over the course of the year, I've learned how to get listings in a much faster way and a more efficient way. And I'm at the point where I can get as many listings as I want to get. And now I built, and I don't want to sound any way, but I built a system that cost me a lot of time, and it's completely scalable at this point.
And the people who work for you are basically working from home, from the field, from an office. How does it work? Meaning, obviously, everybody meaning a lot of people adopted the whole format of not working in an office, the entire week. Where are you with this?
So I encourage people to come into the office, of course. We're in Syosset, New York, on Long Island. But, you can work from anywhere. You can work from your home. I have people in Florida working from their homes. I have people in Texas working from their homes. As long as you have this, you have an office. So
that's true.
You can work from anywhere. You do it remotely. And this really is my office right here.
And tell me something, how all these guys and girls, I'm assuming, who you work with, how did they get to you? Or you got to them?
LinkedIn is definitely a great tool. I built my LinkedIn from nothing to, a good following today. I've meeting people. I've got a ton of referrals of people who want to work with me. I still have a ton of people that I have to onboard. Uh, and it's just basically a lot of word of mouth at this point. So that's really how I got the business, is word of mouth, LinkedIn, social media, Instagram. My hashtag is Business Broker King, which is pretty cool. And
Sounds like it. From talking to you, I feel like I'm talking to a business broker king. It's pretty exciting.
I love it. You know what it is? I love what I do. And, that's really true. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So, things have come to me. I'm not really chasing after anyone. If it happens, it's meant to happen.
Tell me something. Give us like a good story, like a cool deal that you've been involved in the past. I'm sure you had a few, but if you could highlight one situation where you either helped someone majorly, or that was a unique deal, or something interesting about your business that happened to you.
That's great because I have so many of them. Let me think about the best one. I want to make it very interesting. Okay, I got it. So, one of my friends, he's in the car wash world, and he's an amazing operator. He's probably the best. He's one of the best operators I know, not the best, one of them. And he only buys places that he gets through vendors, that he gets through his soap guy. He buys deals. He doesn't buy a return on investment, because he knows how to go into a place that's destroyed and he can get it up to speed. So one day I found him a place I can't really disclose where this place is.
Okay.
Don't think he would want me to if he's watching this. Even though it's a good story. It's a conflict, because I don't want the customers to know. Or
yeah, no problem. The story is the main part.
Yes. So, and everything in business broker is confidential. That's the biggest challenge. I didn't even touch on that.
100%.
So we found the place for $700,000, and I was able to facilitate the sale, get him in there. And it's very hard to get a car wash for $700,000. So we got the business, and he said, "Should I buy it?" And I said, "You're an operator. What do you think you can do here?" And he said he can do 100,000, 150,000 a month, in between 100 and 150. Right now, I was doing nothing. So he bought it for 700. He put in 100 to 200. Like I told him, we went over a performer before he bought it. So he's in about $1 million. Let's say 300 altogether, including all fees and everything. He had to pay me too. So $1 million. So I helped him. I consulted. We got the business up to where it was supposed to get to, and within a year, we sold it for $2.6 million.
Wow!
It's amazing. It's a great story because the buyers bought a very good business at $2.6 million.
It's incredible.
The buyers, not him.
Yeah.
The buyers were able to buy the business for $2.6 million. They stayed there for 2 years, and they sold it for $4.5 million.
Unbelievable. That's incredible.
So the story is, this business is value add. It's not just numbers, real estate. What's my NOI? What's my insurance? What's my real estate taxes? What do I make after that? It's what could I create here, and what could this be? And that car wash is probably the best car wash in New York right now.
It's incredible. It's how can I get into a business and turn everything around and push the value up? But it's not only that. It takes something that seems to be either broken or not functioning properly and to take it to another level. I think that's incredible. What?
You have to have that eye.
You have to have that, right. You have to have that eye, the vision, and the knowledge, of course, like you said. You have to understand the business, and you have to go in and say, I can do this. That's very, very unique. And you're right about that. Meaning in real estate, it's also...
I have many stories.
You know what? Give us another one. Just for the heck of it. Before we set our goodbyes.
I'll give you the Ondice Hotel.
Okay.
So I was introduced to this hotel, and I was able to get to the owner, and I didn't know. I told if the owner's watching, he sold it, so he's happy, he doesn't care. So I was able to. It was closed. It was during COVID. Uh, so I didn't have a buyer when I met him, and I had to just get my foot in the door because I knew I can sell it. So I was able to get to the owner. I was able to luckily meet him off basically just an introduction, and I didn't know what to do. I had a time frame. They had to make a move in a certain amount of days, or else they were going to open the hotel themselves. I needed to get this sale, so I randomly just looked up online. Who do I call to buy this $90 million hotel? So I went through the list of all the biggest operators. I called probably 20 of them. I got no luck. That was my day one. Day two, my first call was a company that owns 50 hotels. They were like probably number 30 on the list. And I pitched the owner, and I got him interested. I had him sign an NDA off a cold call, met him there on the spot, made the deal, closed right away.
Wow.
And just shows the power of cold calling. So that's just another story I like to bring up,
Amazing.
because you got to exhaust all
You knew him
engines.
from before?
No, never knew him.
So you just got his number, called him up, and said, "Hey, this is me. I have a hotel. Do you want to see it?" He said yes, came and bought it.
That's it. That's simple.
Amazing.
I have a deal going on right now where it's my favorite restaurant. It's one of the busiest restaurants on the island. I have a client that's selling his restaurant. I knew that if I put that restaurant and this restaurant, this would be a freaking grand slam. So I cold called that restaurant. I said, I have a perfect location for you. He said, where is it? Showed him the restaurant. Closing tomorrow on the deal. And that's another one where off a cold call, you just got to pursue everything. You got to exhaust all engines in this business.
It's incredible. Michael, listen, it was exciting, very interesting, and hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about in the future. I want to tell you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a lot from this conversation. And you guys can definitely see the links from above, below. Michael, tell everybody where they can find you.
Please go on hedgestone.com, HEDGE, stone.com. And, if you're interested in taking the course, I have a discount now to sign up, and would love to talk to you about being a broker.
Perfect. Sounds amazing. And I'm assuming also LinkedIn is the source to get you and talk to you.
Yes.
Because that's how I got to you, and which is amazing. And I'm grateful for that. Michael, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you guys, I hope